Hello, and welcome to The Discriminating Gamer. Say, one day two men are talking, and one says to the other one, "You know, my wife is an angel." The other one said, "Too bad, mine's still alive." Ladies and gentlemen, today we're going to go ahead and take a look at Angel Fury from FryxGames. Hello everybody, we'll be back to the review in just a second. I just want to take a minute to tell you to go visit Galaxy of Games in West Jordan, Utah. It is Utah's newest game store. It's run by friends of mine. It's a great place, great selection, great prices, well-lit, clean bathrooms. If you go in there, ladies and gentlemen, and you tell them that I sent you, the Discriminating Gamer, and you use the promo code TDG, you'll get 10% off of your purchase. Check out Galaxy of Games. In Angel Fury from FryxGames, one player takes on the role of a heavenly host of angels, while the other takes on the role of evil demons as they attempt to battle for a human soul. Now this game plays 2 to 4 players, and depending on the player count or how epic you wanted a 2-player game to be, you're going to select a different size board. Now these boards have squares that are roughly about 3 by 3 for the units in the game, and more on that later. But that's important because you're also going to be placing mountains and fountains that are going to give you other advantages as the game goes on, and that's going to also affect how many units you can move into those spaces. Players are going to have their basic angels or demons, and you could fit 9 of these easily in one of these square 3 by 3. But you also have tormentors for the demons or seraphims for the angels, and they're going to take up, I believe, 4 spaces in these grids. And then you also have kind of your archangel or archdemon, and they're going to take up 6 spaces in one of these squares. Now each player is going to get their own player board. Their player board is going to have places for discs to kind of track your archangel or archdemon's health. You're also going to have spaces for your discs to show kind of, you know, how many commands you've got left. You're also going to have a space where you can keep track of your hand size, which you can manipulate throughout the game. Now, there's also going to be a training board. Now, this training board has 2 sides. It has a side for the angels and a side for the demons. And essentially, you're going to put a number of training cards there, and you're going to put a number of them out. These you can buy during the course of the game, or cycle through during the course of the game in order to get more powers. Now this is a deck building game, but it's an unusual one in that you only ever have 12 cards. You start with starter cards, which again are 12 cards, and I believe your hand size starts at 4. But as the game progresses, you can increase your hand size, and you can buy cards from the training area in exchange for crystals or angels. And you can go ahead and buy those cards to put them into your deck, but if you do that, you have to take out a card. For every card you put in, you have to take out a card. So again, your deck size is never greater than 12. Now, you're going to have kind of a reserve. You're going to have angels kind of that you put off into a pool, and what you're going to do is certain cards you play or certain things that happen in the game will allow you to kind of put them into kind of a ready spot where you can bring them in. Now, on your turn, what you can do is you have various, for various command tokens, spending various command tokens, you can go ahead and take several actions. First of all, you can deploy those angels. You can bring those angels out on the board. Now, they typically, any angels or seraphims, tormentors, whatever that you bring onto the board, you can only bring them in either on altars, which are on the board, or you can bring them on next to seraphims or tormentors. They can spawn angels. But these angels come on the board, they're going to be reinforcements, but as I say, while they're off the board, you can also spend them for some of the cards. Now, essentially, you can buy upgrades. You can buy upgrades, which means, again, you can increase your hand size, or you can increase the number of command tokens you have, which allow you to do more things during your turn. You can also buy the cards for one command, or you can play a card for a command. And finally, you can command your troops. You can move your troops on the board. Essentially, a troop is everything within a 3x3 square. You can activate that and you can move forward. Now, as I say, there are fountains and there are mountains on the board. If you move into one of these spaces, these terrain spaces, of course you can't take everything with you from a full troop. You'd only be able to take that number with you that would fit in that space. But this is important because if you occupy the fountains, that means you can get more angels into your kind of ready area. If you occupy the mountains, then you get crystals. Now that's important because both crystals and angels are going to be the resources with which you buy the upgrades, with which you buy the cards. Now, critically, on the board during this phase, your objective is to get your guys into a very specific part of the board. Part of the board is the place with a human soul. Essentially, you're trying to occupy this space. So you're going ahead, you're trying to move into this space because, of course, whoever can occupy that space is going to get soul points, which is how you win the game. More on that later. Now, if ever you move your troop into a space with an opposing troop, and you can move everything in there, you are essentially going to engage in battle. Now, how battle works is, first of all, if you have any cards with battle abilities, you can play that. But you're going to add up the dice for all of the units you're moving forward. So angels and demons are only going to roll 1 dice each. Your seraphims or tormentors, they're going to roll, I believe, 4 dice, and your archangel and archdemon will roll 6 dice. Now, what you're doing is, as you're rolling these, you're looking for hits. That's the sword symbol, and if you've played certain cards, if you roll the circle symbol, that too will count as a hit. But as you're going through, like I say, you're playing cards that may add extra damage, they may prevent damage, there may be other kooky things that come out with these battle cards. But you're going ahead, you're rolling the die, and then for every hit your enemy scores, you have to remove 1 unit. Now, an angel takes 1 to remove, 1 hit, he's gone. Your seraphim or tormentor, 1 hit, and they're gone. But if you score a hit against an archangel or an archdemon, it does not immediately destroy them. Rather, it just knocks down their health. Now, you keep track of their health on your player board. You keep track of that. If all of their health is exhausted, then that archangel or archdemon is out of the game. Now, after you've moved all of your command tokens, if you've moved all your troops and you've fought all your battles, you've done everything you're going to do during your turn, your active part of your turn, then you go ahead and you move to the resource phase. Now, the first thing you're going to do is look, do you occupy the human soul space on the board? If you occupy the human soul space on the board, then you get 1 soul point. You put this on a little card that says that you have got that soul point. Next, you're going to see if your archangel or archdemon gives you any income in terms of angels or crystals, and then you're going to look at the terrain you occupy, the mountains or the fountains, and you're going to collect angels and crystals from those as well. Next, you're going to draw cards up to your hand size, and you are going to go ahead and move all of your command tokens back to their ready area. So players go back and forth on their turns. They are buying upgrades to increase their hand size to get more command tokens. They are buying new cards from the training area and getting rid of older cards. They are moving troops on the board and attacking their enemies on the board in order to get those terrain areas, including, most importantly, that soul space. Then you're going to the resource phase. You're collecting your income. You're getting your cards ready, and you are preparing to do battle again. This goes on until one side or the other reaches 7 soul points. The first side to reach 7 soul points wins Angel Fury. We'll get back to the review in just a moment. I want to take a minute to ask you to check out my other channel, that is Cody Carlson, PhD, where we talk about history, books on history, military history. I even post some of my lectures for my classes on there. Please check that out. Please subscribe to that channel. And now, back to the review. So, this game, I got to tell you, has one of the most unique and interesting themes I've seen in a game. I don't know that I've ever played, maybe I have, I don't know that I've ever played a game that had this kind of religious theme. And when I say religious, I don't mean it endorses necessarily any one religion. At the very beginning of the rule book, there's a little comic book about a guy who's just having a bad day, and he's angry, and these demons and these angels come to fight for his soul, which is actually really interesting. You know, it's not a game about fighting to save the world or save the universe or these other big ideas. It's just one person. You're fighting to save one person, and to me, that's just, I mean, I think that's so cool. I think it's really a cool theme. As I say, there's no one religion necessarily that this is following off of, but the rule book kind of has excerpts relating to the three great monotheistic religions, Christianity, Judaism, and Islam. It's rooted in those traditions, but it's very interesting. It's very interesting how it does it. It doesn't hit you over the head with it, but it's there. And like I say, it's an interesting theme. I think somebody who is not a believer or not one of these religions will still enjoy the game. So I got the game, and I was reading through the rules, and I gotta be blunt, as I was reading through the rules, the game seemed fairly light. It did not seem like it was overly complex, or I was kind of looking for the big gimmick. And I'm looking for the gimmick. What kind of sets this apart? And for me, the thing that kind of really made me go, oh, okay, now that's interesting, was this idea of it's a deck builder, but your hand size never increases. So you're sacrificing cards. Now, in a lot of deck builders, that seems like a no-brainer because your starting hand's weaker, which is true. But the way this game works, because you can't count on getting some of those abilities back if you get rid of them, there's some tough choices there. And that, to me, is very, very interesting. And do I want to get one of these cards to train with if it's going to cost me an ability, perhaps a weaker ability, but still an ability I really like? And because you're just doing it from your hand. So it's very interesting. That is a very cool hook for me. I don't know that I've seen that before. There may be other games that have done that before. I don't think I've played one that just had 12 cards. You can add to it, you can increase your deck, you make your deck better, but you're still at 12. That, to me, was very cool. So Kim and I played this game, and as we're playing the game, it immediately, I was sucked in. Immediately, this game was like, because you can only move orthogonally, right? You can't move diagonally. So there's kind of an interesting dilemma there about moving and attacking, because if I attack and I'm not successful and I lose a bunch of guys, I can't immediately reinforce that position because I have to bring my guys in from either an altar or one of the seraphims or tormentors, and it's going to take me a while to get there. So if I lose out at that human soul, how am I going to, like I say, easily reinforce it? And so that's another very interesting dilemma too, just how these things move and work, and then of course with the terrain, the fountains and the mountains, how do you move those guys to those areas? But at the same time, if you really want to control them, it's a fun dilemma. It's an interesting dilemma. How best do I split my forces, I guess, is the best way to say it. How do I split my forces to control the areas I want to control, but still have a sizable force to do battle with my enemies here? It's very interesting. It's very well done. The cards, the training cards are interesting. You can choose which archdemon and which archangel you're going to use. You can actually choose who you want to use. So there's some variability in setup. Who do I want to play? Who do I want to, what powers do I want here? But then, as I say, those training cards and the abilities, some of them, okay, I don't want to trade those out, but you have opportunities to kind of cycle through them with some of the cards, and you can get some really cool abilities, and there's some real fun things you can do. So it's not a deck builder necessarily in the sense of I'm playing my cards to build on each other like that, but it's deck building in a very interesting way to kind of complement this army. And how you play those cards in battle is interesting. How you play them maybe to get resources is interesting. I was kind of surprised and delighted with just how much variety in those cards there are, considering how frankly simple the game is on a lot of levels. We really liked Angel Fury. I'll be blunt. I liked this game a lot more than I thought I was going to. I thought at best it might be kind of fun, but this one's really a lot of fun. This is great, and I think there's some, with the different, it's got some different maps, and as I say, you can play a two-player, you can play a bigger epic game or smaller games, so I think there's some replayability there too, and then again with the different different archangels and archdemons you can use, and the different cards that are going to come out through the training. And I think this is a game, too, that you could easily see them doing some expansions for that would enhance it, give you more variety, more options. This is kind of a fun, different, light war game with some deck building in it, with some other little surprises in it. Really had a lot of fun with it. Recommendation for the discriminating gamer for Angel Fury is buy it. Thank you once again for joining us today on The Discriminating Gamer. As always, we ask you to please leave a comment for us on YouTube, on Board Game Geek, on our Facebook page, or on thediscriminatinggamer.com. We'd ask you to please like us on Facebook, subscribe to us on YouTube, and follow us on Twitter. I'd also ask you, ladies and gentlemen, to please check out my other channel, that is Cody Carlson, PhD, where we talk about military history and books on history, fun things like that. Please check it out, please subscribe, and please give a thumb to this video on Board Game Geek. That helps us out a lot as well. You know, ladies and gentlemen, how do angels make holy water? They boil the hell out of it.
Please somebody help me on my feet again. And I don't know where I'm going, and I don't know where I've been. Please somebody help me on the solid ground. It's a long time, and I'll be dying. Once a year I wind up in the band.
I knew there was something wrong with the universe. Look at what's happened to my baby.